Hello, in the previous video, we learned about how to add and subtract directed numbers. In this video, however, we shall be looking at how to multiply and divide directed numbers. But before we go into that, I would like to recap on what we did about directed numbers in the last video. We said that directed numbers are real numbers. Real numbers are rational numbers. They could also be irrational numbers. But we focused on integers in the last class, where we said that integers are real numbers that are whole numbers. We also said that integers may be positive or negative numbers. This was when we now connected positive and negative numbers to directed numbers, because the signs in front of numbers, they are usually indications of directions. So positive and negative numbers, they make up what we call directed numbers. So that the signs in front of these numbers are usually indications of directions. This class is to look at how to apply simple rules to see how we can multiply and divide directed numbers. So let's get to it. The rules are simple. We have SSP to help us to remember. They're like acronyms, SSP and DSN. SSP means same signs, and then whenever you have same signs, you should end up having positive as your answer. If you have different signs, negative should be your answer. In other words, we're looking at the sign that we would come up with when directed numbers with their own respective signs multiply or divide themselves. So the rules will remain the same. When you have same signs, when directed numbers with same signs multiply each other, the result of the answer would be a positive number. When directed numbers that have different signs, when they multiply or divide each other, the answer would be negative. Now you look at this rule. We'll be applying this rule in order to be able to answer these questions. So we say plus times plus. Whenever the directed numbers are both positive, your answer will be positive, because we knew that from that rule, SSP says same signs you add. Now same sign as well for negative, you have minus times minus will give you plus, or negative times negative will be positive. Positive times negative will be negative, and negative times positive would be negative. I'll take that again. I said positive times positive is positive. We have negative times negative is positive. Positive times negative is negative. And the negative times positive is negative. Now, why is that? From the rule, it is easy to figure out why this is so, because we know that same signs should always give us positive, and then different signs should give us what? Negative. So let's get to some of these examples. They're actually simple rules to follow, and I do not think that the examples that follow here will be a problem. So let's go to it. The first question which I'll be looking at is this one right here, question 1. It says plus 3 times plus 2. What I do normally is to use brackets to separate, where we have clashes of signs. Like in this case, we have these two signs are clashing. The convention is to try to separate these signs using brackets. So, and by the way, what you're actually doing here is you're multiplying two signed numbers. So when you look at this first signed number, it is plus 3. And when you look at the second signed number, you see that the plus there is owned by the 2. So the multiplication is actually the operation that is taking place right now. So we do plus 3 times plus 2. We take signs out first, so we use the rules, those simple rules that we said that we talked about earlier, to find the result, the sign of the result, and then we multiply the number. So signs first. Let's look at signs first. Plus times plus, same sign, will give us positive sign as a result. So we have plus here. It's going to be plus what then? It will be 3 times 2. 3 times 2 will give us 6, and that is the answer. Let's look at another question. This one says minus 4 times minus 8. Here again, we have clashes of sign, and what I do normally is to separate them so that I don't have clashes of signs. So in this case, now I know I'm doing minus times minus. So we deal with the signs first. So we have minus times minus. First of all, we're going to get plus. Why is that? The rule says that whenever we have same signs multiplying each other, we should be getting a positive result. So I know my answer is going to be positive. Then I can go ahead to do 4 times 8 and I'll get 32. So that's my answer for this question. Let's go again. Let's look at another question. Question 3. This time around, we have the signs to be different. So you can see the signs here are different. So we already know what part of the rule to apply here. We know that the rule to apply here is different signs will give us negative. So DSN is what we're applying here. DSN. So because these signs are different, I know the result will be a negative answer. So here we have negative what now? Negative 5 times 2. So I've dealt with those signs. I've written out the sign for the result, and then now is to give the result itself, which is 5 times 2, which will give me 10. So I write my 10 there. So my answer there is negative 10 or minus 10. Let's take another one. This one again, we have signs that are different. So I know my answer here is going to be a negative result. So, but let's do it. First of all, I try to separate these two signs, these two, multiplication and addition. I try to separate them. So we do minus times plus rather to get minus. And then we have 10 times 12. That should be 120. Now that is done. I'm going to go to another question now. This time around, we have a mixture of the different signs. So let's see how we tackle that. So what we do in this case is to take them one by one. One thing I'm going to do here first is to separate the clashing signs. So what signs here are clashing? I will just highlight the ones that are clashing. We have the minus and the times and minus, they are clashing. Times and minus here are clashing as well. Times and plus are clashing here. So I'm going to use brackets to separate them because this minus is for the 5. No wonder it's a signed number. This minus here is for these 3 and this plus here is for the 4. And that leaves us with these signs here to be the operations that we are going to do. So let's do that now. We take them 2 directed numbers at a time. So I'm going to work on this and this to generate an answer here, and I'll work on this and this to generate an answer here. So let's go with that. So we have plus 2 times minus 5. If you go back to the rules say that we should do same signs will always give you positive and different signs will always give you negative. So we have plus times minus first, and then we get we'll get minus because there are different signs. Then 2 times 5 will give us 10. The other one, of course, we have this multiplication sign should be dropped down, and then we have minus 3 times plus 4. So minus times plus will give us minus again, and then we have 3 times 4 to give you 12. So I've reduced these to minus 10 and reduced these two to minus 12. Now we are faced with 2 signed numbers that are both negative. So we can now still apply the same rule where we have same signs to give us plus. So my result is going to be a positive number. So we have 10 times 12. After we do minus times minus, we have plus, and then 10 times 12 will give you 120. So the answer here is 120. By the way, we can also go through this all at once. We do not have to separate and segment the questions or the terms into different segments. We can actually do all of this all at once. So let me do it all at once. To do this all at once is just to go one term at a time. So I start with the signs. Plus times minus will give me minus. So when I do plus times minus, I get minus. Minus times minus, I will get plus. Then plus times plus will give me plus. So you see how I got it? I'll come again with this. I said this plus here times minus will give us minus. That minus times this minus will give us plus. That plus times this plus will give us this plus right here. So our result will be a positive number. Now we cannot go ahead to multiply all the numbers there to find out what the value would be. So we do 2 times 5, 10 times 3, 30 times 4, 120. So we have 120 as our answer. Okay, so let's look at division of directed numbers. The same rules will hold. SSP and DSN. What's SSP? Same signs, you have positive result. DSN is different signs, you have negative result. So let's begin with this one. This question says 8 divided by plus 2. And as usual, I always separate my signed numbers, my directed numbers. So this can be rewritten. First of all, we can first of all do minus divided by plus. It's the same thing. There are different signs. My final answer here is going to definitely be a negative number. And then we can go ahead to do 8 divided by 2 to give us 4. So that will be the answer to that question. So I can rewrite this by using the bar, minus 8 divided by plus 2. Minus divided by plus will give you minus, and then 8 divided by 2 will give you 4. The same thing. Let's go to the second question. Another example. So we have minus 14 divided by minus 7. We have same signs here. So because they are same signs, it's going to give us a plus. 14 divided by 7 will give you 2. We'll go on to another question. The next question here says plus 3 divided by minus 15. I always like to separate my signed numbers. So we have plus divided by minus. These are different signs. So I'm going to get a minus as my answer. And 3 divided by 15. This time around, I know my answer is supposed to be 1 over 5. But let's try it using the method. So we have plus 3 divided by minus 15. And I think when you do it like this, we can reduce it easily. 3 will go in 3, 1, and 3 will go in 15 5 times. So your answer is 1 over 5. The next question here says minus 8 divided by plus 72. Well, I like to separate my signs. So I have minus 8. So I have minus 8 divided by plus 72. So the minus, the signs will take care of the signs first. So we have minus divided by plus. That should give you minus because the signs are different. And now 8 can go in 8. It will go in 8 one time. And then 8 can go in 72. How many times? 9 times. So our answer would be 1 over 9. So the answer here is 1 over 9. Look at this one here. We have kind of like, it's like these numbers are mixed with signs, but then they're all to be divided. So we have minus 4 divided by plus 20 divides minus 1 over 5 divides plus 5 equals what? So like I said earlier, I like to separate all these different signed numbers so I can just see clearly what I'm doing and what I'm up against. Division is the operation for this particular expression. So let's start with this. Remember I told you we can segment this. We can segment this and treat them one by one. So I can first of all look at this and treat this as 1. And then I can treat this as well as another 1, and then later I can now combine both of them. So that's what I'm going to do. So let's do that now. Minus 4 divided by plus 20, I can rewrite that as minus 4 divided by plus 20, right? And this will be divided by minus 1 over 5. So we have minus 1 over 5 divided by, and you know, division sign, if you're good with fractions, whenever you have division signs like this, you can change it to multiplication, right? You can change that to multiplication. And when you do so, you're going to upturn this number here. This whole number will become a fraction. It becomes its reciprocal. So we have, instead of having 5 over 1 here, I would have 1 over 5 because I have upturned the number after the decimal. We move on. So this will give us 4 here, 1, and 4 here, 5. And then of course we have 1 over 5 times 1 over 5 there, and that should be, there was a plus there, so we have the plus sitting down right there. And if I do this, it tells you that we have two fractions which are real numbers. They are rational numbers, but they are not integers, right? Even though I said we would not look at integers, I just wanted to use this to explain something here. So we have minus 1 over 5 times plus 1 over 5. Minus times minus will give us minus, and then 1 times 1 will give us 1. 5 times 5 will give us 25. So there we have it. We have everything here has reduced to minus 1 over 25. There was a division sign right there, and then we know we have 1 over 5 right here as well. So now we have two numbers, even though they are fractions. Okay, so we have 1 over 5. Here now we have 1 over 5. We will do the same thing we did earlier here. We'll change this to multiplication so we can actually deal with this question. So here we would upturn this. 25 goes up and minus 1 comes down. So we now have 25 on top, and then we have minus 1 below. So we can reduce this to its lowest term. Now this is 5 here, 1, and 5 here is 5. So our final answer will be minus divided by plus. Here should have given us a minus sign right here, and then that same sign will be carried down here. And now this minus sign times this minus sign here will give us plus, because the signs are the same. So we have plus, and then we can now do 1 times 5 will be 5. So our final answer here should be plus 5. So we have plus 5. Usually when we are to write positive numbers, we don't normally write them if they begin a statement or they are to be written alone. So normally, conventionally speaking, this should have been written as just 5. So anytime you see a number without any sign apparently in front of it, it implies that there is a positive sign in front of it. I hope this helps you. Until I see you again in the next video, bye-bye.